Okay. Now that we're recording, I guess I'll present this for the second time since I realized I wasn't recording the first time. Let me also start my timer. So for those of you who were in the first class, you might remember our professor asking us what our favorite movies were and why. And I mentioned that my favorite movies were the James Bond movies just because of the attachment I had from watching them with my dad. I liked them just for entertainment value, not much more than that. Um, so I've never ever done a presentation on any James Bond movies or anything like that. So I figured I could try and do my research topic on that. But I was struggling to kind of decide what to research about James Bond because he's a fictional character. Um, and so one of my female friends said, "Hey, a lot of people take issue with some of the, feminism issues that arise from the James Bond movies." And I was like, okay, I guess I hadn't really paid attention to it. I know that James Bond loves his women, so I said, there might be some truth to that. So I said, let's watch some of these videos or some of these movies over and see what they have to offer. I picked one of the older movies, the first James Bond movie, actually, as well as some of the newer ones, just to see how they differ. So let's start off with, for those who don't know, I can make this change. Oh, there it goes. Who is James Bond? So he's Secret Service for the UK. He's in the Secret Service for the UK. He's in the Double O program. His label is 007. Double O to be in the Double O program means I think you have to have two kills in the line of duty or something like that. Um, so how's he portrayed on film? Definitely very smooth, well-spoken individual, expensive taste, womanizer, very much so. Loves his watches, loves his cars, and loves his alcohol as well. So that's kind of, I think, why it's so attractive to especially young men. They like nice things, nice watches, everything that he portrays, which is why I think he became so popular. So for the first movie, we have Dr. No, played by Sean Connery here. He's pictured there. This one was released way back in 1962. The movie is set in Jamaica, where he's fighting a scientist who is Dr. No, who's wanting to take down the space program. I can't remember if it was the UK or the US or one of the two. And so that was kind of the basis of the film. So in every Bond movie, typically, especially in the older ones, there's at least one girl that's the Bond girl. The term was kind of coined because he was always chasing after at least one female in particular in each movie. This movie happens to be Honey Rider. They actually meet on the beach, and she's very defensive towards Bond. I think she's just singing a song, and he just joins in behind her out of nowhere. So she pulls a knife on him. But she's very defensive at first. I don't need you. I don't need you to protect me. I don't need your help. She had a troubled past. And as the movie progresses, they get closer, and then she ends up helping him. He helps her, ends up saving her, of course. Got to save the day, portraying her as a damsel in distress. And then they have a romantic moment, meaning I think you guys can read between the lines. At the end, we're in a boat as the credits are about to roll, meaning he got the girl. So I was like, okay, I can definitely see through, more female perspective why this could be portrayed as, objectifying a female. I understand that. So I said, let's watch. I know we skipped many, many movies, but I said, let's watch some of the more modern movies and see how they portray them. So many of you have probably seen Casino Royale, released back in 2006, played by Daniel Craig, where he's playing a kind of like the mob banker to try and take their money away. He's got to play a game of poker. So the female lead in this movie is Vesper Lind. That's her character there, and she's the treasury agent paired with Bond. Since there's a lot of money involved, they sent someone with him. And in the scene, I think it's when she's supposed to enter the room where they're playing poker, he has her wear a dress, a very low-cut dress. And he says, when you walk into the room, I think he says something along the lines of, when you walk into the room, I want everyone to be focused on you and not the game." So definitely, I could see that's more of a sexualization of the woman there. And in the end, uh, I hate to be the spoilers, but it turns out she was actually working with the bad guys in the movie. And so I actually watched this movie with a lot of female friends just because I thought, their perspective could be interesting. There's about two or three of them. And they were like, oh, of course, portray the girl to stab the guy in the back. So I don't think they necessarily liked the ending and how they portrayed her in the movie. Um, so I was like, interesting. Okay, but I really valued their perspective since I haven't really looked at these movies in this lens before. So we move on to Spectre, which was released a couple years ago, 2015, also played by Daniel Craig, where they're uncovering an international crime ring. And I see I'm running out of time, so let me hurry a little bit. Um, Madeline Swan, she's the main focus in this movie, which I think is really interesting because she's the strongest female lead I think we've seen to date in the Bond movies, is when they introduced her. She's very smart. She's a psychologist. Where they gave her in the movie, I think they gave her more individuality more than other movies. And I think we see a shift from, oh, she's just the next Bond girl he's trying to get, to more of, I think she is viewed as someone he wants to get out of the industry with, who he wants to retire with. And I will say about Vesper Lind in the previous one, normally we have, especially in the old movies, there is the girl, she either dies or they get together and she's never seen again. Vesper, at least in the Daniel Craig series, is mentioned many times throughout the movies after Casino Royale, which I think was cool. That she had more of a meaning rather than just a lustful interest. And then we have No Time to Die, which is probably one of the best portrayals I've seen for strong female leads in these movies. This one was released just a few years ago in 2021, also played by Daniel Craig. Like I said, several female leads. And this was actually the last movie he was going to play Bond, and I think that they did a great job with it. So here we have where they asked Madeline Swan back. They had her in the next one again. Madeline Swan's her movie name, not her name in real life. I can't remember the actor's name. And then um, the top right, we have Ana de Armas. She's playing Paloma in the film. And then we have on the bottom, her name is Naomi. So Naomi's actually the first female black lead that was playing a double O character, playing Bond. The next could be the next Bond in the future movies. We're not really sure. They're looking at several different people. I know Paloma on the top right. Very intense action scenes with her. She held her own. They're portraying women as much stronger. And I know that when they introduced her, she was, in the classic Bond girl type introduction, by the bar, slim dress, heels, low cut dress. And then they go to a closet and we're like, oh, okay, classic Bond, here we go. And she goes, oh, here's your outfit. And then turns around. So I was like, okay. So I think they're trying to make a statement of, women are not just in the movie for sexual interest in this movie, which I thought was cool. As well as, especially for Naomi on the bottom right, they gave her, like this picture shows here, a lot more lead. She's definitely taking the lead on many scenes. She's flying the plane instead of him. She's driving the Aston Martin instead of him. So I thought it was cool that they gave her a pretty large role in the movie. And in this movie, I think we actually see a much softer side of Bond. We see the mental issues that can come with having this lifestyle. And I liked that, especially in like the previous picture you see with Madeline, I think it's showing a more, um, almost a more loving character rather than this hard killer. And it's cool to see him working alongside with a lot of women. And I know my friends that I was watching this with were like, oh no, that's really cool. It seems like a change, especially from the old movies that we'd seen. So for me, growing up with a dad who was definitely kind of like, rub some dirt in it, get over it, it's fine, raised very traditionally in that sense. I thought it was really cool to look at these movies that I grew up on in a different lens. And I actually really appreciated the project because it actually gave me a new perspective, and I'm always down to gain a new perspective. So that is the end of my presentation, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.